You are listening to the Property Marketing Show with your hosts, Tom and Neil. The show that's all about marketing your property properly.
Right, now we're recording. So, do you want me to do the intro? Might as well.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Property Marketing Show. I'm Neil. Today I'm joined by my co-host Tom and Charlotte Jeffery-Campbell from The Able Agent.
Hi guys.
Now, bit of a disclosure, Charlotte and I have known each other for many, many years. And not necessarily through property to start with. Our sons both went to the same nursery. And just to put that in context, they're now, well, Frank certainly, mine is a grumpy teenager. Not sure about Charlie, but
still a grumpy teenager, 15 now. Yeah, that's
we've known each other a while, and obviously similar interest in property. So I thought it would be useful to get Charlotte on as someone who's got a wealth of experience, but also in the current role as head honcho of the Able Agent, are trying to basically upskill agents and improve the offering. So, Charlotte, you just want to give a little bit more background as to how you've got here today?
Yeah. Oh, crikey. Well, estate agency, that was one of those jobs that I got into by accident, obviously, like we all do. I did a languages degree, funnily enough, but I haven't managed to use that until I open Able Agent in France and Spain, which will be ultimately a goal, I think. But I'm an ex-lister negotiator. I was a property manager around a property management department. I've also worked for Knight Frank and worked in land and new homes as well. So I've got a real mix of estate agency and lettings and property management knowledge. So over the last few years, I've ended up sort of training people because I was the person who really wanted to help develop the teams around me. And then about 4 years ago, we sort of set up Able Agent as an online training platform because we felt that existing training wasn't as accessible as it needed to be for agents. And I think historically, training in our industry has been pay for an away day. You know, you get everyone down to London for a day at great expense. They're blasted with a load of information for a day. They have a fantastic day. They go out the night after. Everyone has a few too many drinks and they go back to work the next day doing things exactly the way they did it before they went to the training. So it's not as effective. And then the alternative was huge, big training manuals from the likes of Property Mark that, again, aren't very engaging. And in the modern world, people are learning differently. Even our kids are learning differently. It's evolving. So online learning is a phenomenal tool to be able to set a training plan for your business or individuals and then monitor it and make sure it's effective and makes changes. So that's what Able Agent does. And we do estate agency lettings, we do qualifications, and there's a selection of those you can choose from. Our passion is really getting those people having those light bulb moments that says, I am really good at what I do. I do understand the law. I am more knowledgeable than my client, and I'm comfortable charging the right fees and offering the right service.
Do you find that most of your clients tend to be fresh into estate agency, or
no? You know what? You'd be surprised. You'd think that, wouldn't you? But actually, half the battle and the value in agency training is those people who've done it for a long time actually having that moment of saying, "God, do you know what? I am really good." We had one lady who, probably similar age to me, 40s, 50s, and had been in the career for a long time. She did our qualification and she said afterwards, I've joined LinkedIn. Now I thought, yeah, so what? But she said, I never felt confident enough to join LinkedIn because I didn't think I was a professional. And it's phenomenal, that process of learning and that qualification gave her that confidence. And I told this story to a lady on a demo yesterday, and she said, I feel the same. She said, I haven't joined LinkedIn because I don't feel like a professional. And yet she's running, this lady I was speaking to yesterday is running a highly successful estate agency. And I know she's using you as well, Neil, but I won't mention any names.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, good.
There you go. Yeah.
LinkedIn's a funny place anyway. Don't get me off on that tangent.
No, but it's a clever tool, but it is that representation because I don't think as an industry we're seen as professional. And I'm a huge advocate that we are, the knowledge and skills agents have are phenomenal. And my other sound bag at the moment, my focus is getting people into the industry, young'uns thinking, what do I want to do as a career? Getting them into the industry because they learn life skills, property skills, customer service, sales, digital marketing, video marketing, social media. You think about what the youngsters coming into our career learn that will then give them an opportunity, even if it's not in property, to take steps into another career. And you look at the young'uns now doing their videos and the creative approach to marketing and property details and social media. It's a great new skill that they're learning.
I think we were joking the other week about how my teenager Frank suddenly developed interest in property investing.
Yeah.
He was hanging around with people who are considerably richer than me.
Yes. Well, my children keep saying, I just want a career, but I don't want to be like you, Mum. So I'm saying, okay, well, you need to work harder and get better A-level results then, don't you?
Fab. Obviously, you talked about the new approach to property marketing. What have you seen over the years? How would you compare sort of when you first came into the industry to now?
Yeah. So I suppose I was 94 when I first started working in the industry, in the days of filing cabinet. I had all the control actually at that point in time, because somebody came to my office, I chose which details to give them. They didn't have access to everything. Even the newspaper, there was only a small selection. People didn't know what was available. So we were much more able to influence and sell to our customers, because that's the human element of property, isn't it? Being able to sell and advise. And I think then newspapers went away. And again, it's a shame, because actually the newspapers are a great tool for offering advice and expertise and brand awareness, but not necessarily for selling properties. And I think we've evolved into being adverts of properties into expert advice marketing, and the property is almost the byproduct in some cases, because I think we're learning that to influence our audience, we have to be seen as experts and advisors. And I think that's the biggest fundamental change. I think that rather than just shoving properties out there, we're shoving advice and guidance and relevant information. And I think that then brings more long-term community marketing into play, which is really where I think those successful agents are really, really good at that. They're seen as an advisor rather than just somebody who sells property or lets property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. So do you think that you're saying that it used to be back in 94 very human-led? Do you think that it's sort of been dehumanized a bit?
I think so. I think so. I mean, so in 99, 2000, I changed jobs and worked briefly for what is now Vibra. And my job was to persuade people to change from printing their sales particulars out and sticking a mini print on and moving into a CRM system. And at the time, it was brilliant, because I didn't have to write out envelopes anymore. Everything was much quicker. I could get my properties on the market much quicker. But what happened, though, is we've moved so far towards technology that we're not as good at the skills. And I think the market at the moment, agents who've worked in this industry for less than 5 years probably don't know anything about other than being a reactive person. They just respond to the inquiries, and people are going to the marketing source, as in the portals, to get that information. But I think we're going to see a big shift as the market changes. People have got to change focus. They've got to be proactive. They've got to build relationships. They've got to offer advice and spot business opportunities. That's going to be massively important moving forward. We are into a tricky phase of the industry. We've had a bit of an easy ride, I think, over the last few years.
Definitely. And do you see any difference with? I mean, you've got experience in both sales and lettings. Do you see that there needs to be?
Yeah, lettings. It was a case of I used to update my printed rental list on a daily basis, shove it on the desk at the front of the office, and people would take it away and then ring up and take the properties. I think we again are more proactive, because I think we should be seeing tenants as potential business opportunities. Tenants are investors. Tenants are buyers. Tenants are first-time buyers. Landlords. We can communicate them more effectively with advice and guidance, which may then attract them into our agency. So, yes, I think the whole marketing world has evolved from, I suppose, the control that we had in terms of advising somebody and giving them what we want. Now we have a much bigger platform to demonstrate our skill sets and the different services. And I remember seeing a survey a few years back that said that 65% of your customers don't actually understand all the services that you offer. And I think that's probably still true, because somebody coming to an estate agent will think, I'm buying a property or I'm selling a property. They don't necessarily know the mortgage, the property management, the lettings, the surveys, and all the other services that are offered, which is a massive job for marketing to tackle, I think.
Yeah. I'm surprised the number's only 65. I would have thought it would be a higher number.
Yeah, maybe.
No, it's interesting actually, because you've just opened my mind a bit, because I will say we always talk about marketing assets, Doctor, and what's that? Yeah, photos, copy, videos. But I guess actually the person, the employee, is the brand advocate and the marketing asset too. And when it comes to answering the phone and conducting viewings, that is a huge role in property marketing itself. So do you guys at Able Agent, do you focus on conducting the perfect viewing, for example?
Yeah, we have exactly that. We have exactly that video. Preparing for the perfect viewing and carrying out the perfect viewing. Absolutely. They are key, because I suppose one of the things at the moment, if you think about marketing, we all love Instagram and we love the reels about people's homes and the fact that they've put the pergola in the garden, and we aspire. It's this aspirational world of marketing. And I think the really nice thing in terms of property is that we as agents have an absolutely brilliant way to engage with our clients. There's a local agent to me, and he does brilliant walkthrough videos of his properties. But you follow him because you're fascinated about the properties, not necessarily because you're wanting to buy. Modern House, I love that brand and style on Instagram. But if the marketing isn't then followed up with a sales opportunity and a proper commercial opportunity, a commercial relationship, then it is just, no, it's property porn. And we don't need property porn as estate agents. We need business generation porn, I suppose.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's true.
Do you think the portals have have played a role in that, in taking the control away? Because what you said before, it's very much you're in control when someone comes to your desk. Whereas now, people will be coming to you as an agent saying, I want to view this. And if you do your qualification correctly, you might actually have to have a difficult conversation with them to say, well, for X, Y, and Z reasons, you really aren't going to be suitable for it.
Yeah, and I suppose it's that piece, isn't it? That it's all very well, because people will all have aspirations. They all, we should be selling property because people have aspirations. People don't buy through logic. We know that. Every sales course you'll ever go on will say we don't buy through logic. We buy emotionally. So the power of marketing to invoke emotions, whether that's fear, maybe the marketing that we're offering that agent is about fear of having a really bad tenant who doesn't pay their rent and trashes the place. That marketing message that says we can solve that problem is very, very powerful. Equally, the message that says, we will sit here and advise you, Mr. First-time buyer, because actually it isn't easy buying. The market is changing. Interest rates are changing. You do need to think about 6 months' time, a year's time. Are you going to be able to afford it? Are you thinking longer term ahead? Are you thinking about how many moves do you want to make over the next few years? Or do you want to jump now and make a bigger move? All of that is about working with their aspirations, but being the advisor and the salesperson that makes that happen. It's people that make that bit happen. But the aspirational bit comes from the marketing and looking at that set of details and going, oh, I can imagine myself sitting there with a gin and tonic in the hot tub. That's my aspiration. I, as the agent, as the person, have to say, okay, maybe you need to think about a property that's going to require work to get you that dream. Maybe you need to think about changing the area that you're looking in to achieve that dream. Maybe you need to think about better mortgage advice to achieve that dream. But I think being able to relate to people's dreams and aspirations is a very powerful sales message.
And ultimately, do you think that comes down to the questions that agents are asking?
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm a massive advocate of open questions, but if you ever listen to an estate agent talk, this is one of my big bugbears. The agents across the street, if you rang them cold called or mystery shopped, they would ask the same questions very much in the same way. And it's almost a sort of a standardized script. Are you proceedable? You know, and we create this language. You know, have you got a property to sell? Is it on the market? Have you had mortgage advice? Do you need a survey? You know, when do you need to move by? All of those things are very, very, they stop you, they prevent you from building that empathy and that rapport. So the questions you ask, so how far, you know, where are you looking? How long have you been looking for? Tell me about the, you know, the dream property. What are you going to do if you don't move by Christmas? You know, how far have you got with finding a property? What have you liked about the ones you've seen? What haven't you liked? You know, tell me about your dream. What's, you know, what is it you're after? You know, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? All of those open questions are much more likely to build a conversation. And then you get to understand their aspirations and their dreams. And then you say, well, based on what you've told me, this dream of sitting in the garden with your hot tub, I've got the perfect property for you. It's got a lovely private backyard. You could pop a hot tub on there, and that would be perfection. And then suddenly you've engaged. And then if the marketing can create those aspirations and the photos of the garden can represent that, and you can talk about it, then suddenly you've moved from being a salesperson to somebody who's helped them achieve their dreams, I suppose, in a cheesy way.
No, I think you're absolutely right in touching on what you said about, you know, the aspiration and the emotions, and yet, I mean, things are getting better, and yet, you know, I see listings where it's the cliched, how many radiators has it got, which
and it's difficult, isn't it? Because
anyone.
It's a balance, though, isn't it? Because if I look at a set of property details, but it amazes me how few have got floor plans on. And I see property details that haven't got room measurements on nowadays. And I think, hang on a minute, it's lovely to have the aspirational feel, but you do need the practicality of those sales particulars representing the property accurately. We have consumer protection regulations to work to. We have to be accurate. And we need to be able to find out the information we want to need. But these property TSS have got to create an emotional response. You know, they have to. That's got to be the bit that gets people clicking on. Without that emotional response, you're just scrolled past. So the power of getting that right, I think, is massive.
Yeah, but I think you're right. There needs to be a balance. I might ask you, actually, because we considered, or we tried to get James Monroe from Trading Standards on, because I heard him talk at a property market event.
Yeah,
really good. And
you don't need him, I'll do CPRs for you.
Well, I mean, he talked about material information and how, you know, made a lot of great points, and it's like, oh, I'm going on and following up, talking about the emotional side. But I think there needs to be a balance. But my view, having listened to him, is that there is a place. But I would always say, get the, you know, if you can win the heart through the emotional side, then in some ways, and it sounds a bit tricksy, you know, then the head might ignore some of the not so good material information. What's your thoughts?
I mean, you know, as an estate agent, you do that all the time. You know, I want to live in such and such an area. Sorry, mate, you can't afford such and such an area. Here's your alternative. I want 4 bedrooms. Well, I'm afraid you can't afford 4 bedrooms. This is 3 bedrooms, but you could extend in the future. Those are the conversations that you need to have. But your property details, when you look on the portal or you look at the agent, those property details have got to create aspiration and dreams and make people think, because that's what we live for now. I'm a complete Instagram. I love it. I mean, I've got a beautiful home. I'm very lucky. And I often think I should put some Instagram posts on there, because it's just what we do, isn't it? We aspire to creating that feeling of our homes. It's so important. But I also need, when I click on the information, if I'm in that buying mode and I'm ready to buy, I need to know the information is accurate, and I need to know what I need to know, whether that's room measurements or whatever. But yeah, so for me, what you look at when you see the property has got to create the aspiration, and all the bits I read first, but then I've got to have almost a resource alongside it that says, that's the number of, that's the layout, that's the room measurements, that's the location. Oh, there's a couple of negative bits. Perhaps I need to be aware of that. All of that needs to sit there. But that's absolutely what we need to be offering.
Have you seen anyone recently that's doing a good job of balancing the both, in terms of brands in the market?
No, not really, because it's not something I look at particularly. I suppose I'm coming on here to talk about marketing with you, but it's not something that I see. I suppose I follow more the Instagram agents.
So who are the so you mentioned Modern House?
Yeah,
I agree. They're pretty cool. Any
They're
other agents or developers?
A local agent next to us that Neil and I know called Sanderson Young. He popped up on Instagram the other day, and I would have said they've always been a company that when they launched were very focused on their marketing and their brand, and they were very good at that. And I think they've moved with the times quite nicely. But it's yes, I suppose it's a difficult question, because I don't think I look at it like in that way, I suppose, because I'm always looking at things from a trading perspective. It's more about the conversations I hear people having that I zone in on, I suppose, which is probably where we might differ, because I'm always keen on how do they make me feel if I ring up. My in-laws are house hunting at the moment, and I've been traveling around quite a few agents, and it's interesting how many times I was put in front of the youngest apprentice, and actually they've got 2 properties to sell. They are a good opportunity as a business. They want to move quickly. They could buy without selling. And yet the youngest person at the front of the office is the person who's dealt with my inquiry. And I think that's wrong, because the opportunity of that customer, we should be putting our best guns. When I was a estate agent, our boss used to say, the most important, the valuer, you sit at the bloom in front of the office, because you are the person who's going to be winning the business, and anybody who's less experienced should sit at the back. But often it's the other way around, isn't it?
No, we were talking when we just had a coffee a couple of weeks ago, because I'm looking again for properties, and I was sort of sharing notes. And one thing that I just thought about, and it's just something as simple as the layout. A couple of the agents that I went into, and we talked about it. We went into 3 agents in the same little town. Both of them had 2 members of staff in at the same time. Neither of them were on the phones, which we talked about. And when you walk through the door as a potential inquirer, and you met with 2 people at the desks, there's always that sort of awkward, who do I talk to? Yeah.
And it's just to say, we do films on that. The meet and greet is a film that's on Able Agent, because actually some of the kids that are coming through, they haven't got the confidence to look up, eye contact, smile. I teach people, you stand up, you greet people in, you make them feel welcome. If you're on the phone and you're busy, you acknowledge them and you give them a big smile and just let them know I'll be 2 minutes. Because if you don't, you create that awkward environment that you refer to there, Neil, and we want them to feel welcomed. It's interesting. I tell you what, another point that's slightly different, but I was showing my in-laws around the property the other day. We see 3 properties near us, and first one, oh no good, much too small. Second one, I don't like the aspect, don't like the position, it is still a bit small. Third one, they came out, love it, it's amazing, it's everything we've hoped for, it's brilliant, the size is great, the location's great. It was exactly the same property.
You were telling me the other day, yeah, that's right.
The same property, but the way it was presented internally had an impact on their response to that property.
So what kind of things differed then between the 2?
It was just the decor. One was empty. So again, empty properties is very, very hard for people to sometimes visualize that aspirational lifestyle that we were talking about, isn't it? That is hard. One needed work too, but all 3 had the same 20-year-old kitchen that had been in from new build. But because one had got some new tiles, bit of flooring, and the decor was a bit smarter, they thought it was the best thing since sliced bread and in much better condition. In actual fact, I had to pull them away and say, no, it's exactly the same property. Choose on the location, don't choose on the decor. But it's interesting how people are respond to aspiration and the lifestyle. That's the power of whether it's property presentation or the marketing of a property presentation. Very clever.
Is that something that you focus on Able Agent, or you're considering in the
No, we haven't. So at the moment, our focus is on that relationship building with your customers, empathy, rapport, advice-led selling, and advising people on the services we have. So whether it's upselling into property management, or it's buying a property, or getting a mortgage, or whatever, it's all the advice and all the law. So we do all the consumer law, we do the data protection, we do property law, what's building regs, what's planning permission, we do all of that. So it's things like, how well have you categorized your database? Are you using hot buyers? Do you know what a hot buyer is, or has the hot buyer been there since 1997? Are you managing your data well? We do a lot with CRM companies because it's so important that is done well. And our next steps will be, the whole sort of marketing element, because actually from our point of view, marketing is a skill that people really want to understand. They want to know more about it.
Yeah, I think Neil's sort of disappeared at the moment, but Neil's coming back. You back? You okay, Neil?
Apologies, Amazon delivery, which Florence the dog was objecting to. So
I think I've had a doorbell delivery, so it'll be dumped somewhere in a bin or in an outhouse. But it is. But I think for me, it's absolutely about getting the right balance of marketing skill. And if you talk about careers and people aspiring to a career in property, I think that there will be a lot of the young'uns today who will be quite excited about the digital marketing, the social media element, and the involvement in that as part of their career choices. My 17-year-old said to me, I don't want a job stuck in an office all day. And again, you can just see how people might think, well, actually going out and about and visiting properties is more fun. So we've got a lot to do to attract the young'uns into our industry. I think we're losing a lot of the older guys. As the market is tougher, we will lose more. Be nice to see more young'uns attracted into it. And I think marketing's part of it.
I think marketing is a good way of doing that. As you say, the whole Instagram piece. You've got documentaries now, Tyre and Ash, that kind of, you've got that glitz and glamour, which I think perhaps is coming back into the industry. And I think that, as you say, I think an estate agent generally, it's quite an exciting business because you're almost a jack of all trades. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a positive, in that you're dealing with people, you're out and about, you're in the office, you're also dealing with social media, you're taking photos and that kind of thing. And I've always considered the agent to be a marketeer, actually. And so I think the opportunity for you guys and what you do in the future at Able Agent to tool up your agents with marketing skills is really important. So I'm looking forward to see what you do in the future of that.
Yeah, well, this is it. Well, these are the sorts of things that I think we with Able Agent, a lot of the stuff we've done at the moment is the best practice. It's the law, it's the core content. And that's my bread and butter. I've done this for years. So I know that element. But we're now evolving into areas that are not my expertise. So that's why you'll start seeing much more collaborative approach to content with the Able Agent, because I think that's quite exciting that there's lots of different voices. Once we've given you all the best practice as an industry, which we've done most of that now,
built the foundations.
You can see how there's so many other ideas that can slot alongside that. Because there's not just one way of doing everything in our industry. That's the really brilliant thing. There's lots of different ways of doing things. Yeah.
And in terms of, let's go back to property marketing in particular, what's your opinion on the future of property marketing?
Well, I hope.
Open-ended question.
Yeah, well, I think that what we're seeing on, the TikTok and Instagram, I think this aspirational marketing is what will inspire people to respond. I think in terms of property details, I can see things being, they need to be a little bit more interactive, I think, don't they? I think floor plans could be cleverer. I find, simplicity in some cases is really important. I think a very simple floor plan for me is much better than one that's overcomplicated, because I just need to be able to see it. But I would love to be able to see something that you could go into that property and actually have, do your tour around more effectively, and the live tours, I think will be more of. But I think the ideal scenario is we reduce the amount of time that we waste on viewings that are not right for people. I've quite often done training with people, and I've gone out on viewings where they've had 10 booked in the diary with their client, and the client says, well, that's no good for me, that's no good for me, and we've taken them to 2 properties that with a good conversation prior or a good video tour would have dismissed that at the beginning, and then you can focus your time on right. So I hope that we get better tools, more relevant, more interactive tools for viewings. I think that becoming easy and part of the norm, I think, will be really key. And I think that I think we need more marketing of people. I think the marketing side, it's all very well about the property, but I think the agents need to be good at building their own brand and their own reputation. I think that's something that we'll see more of, even working within an agency rather than as an individual. I think that's where advice and expertise and being a trusted advisor, I think that sits with what I believe in terms of trusted advisors, and that marketing and that ability to share that, I think, is key.
No, I think that's really, really useful. I think the qualification side of things is just so often ignored.
Well, I think the problem is at the moment that qualifications, there's been a lot of people harping on about, we've got ROPA coming in, ROPA, regulation, ROPA, and even an agent I spoke to yesterday saying, well, ROPA's not going to solve our problems. No, it won't. You know, ROPA's not going to change the industry overnight. But I do think that qualifications, the right qualifications, are really good at giving your staff confidence and giving them the guts to hold their own and not slash fees and not negotiate when they don't need to, and to talk in an advice way to your customer. Because I think, like the agent I was talking about who said, I joined LinkedIn, the power she now holds in her own advice, she's not going to be dropping her fees easily because she's confident in what she does. Now that, to me, has got to be a massive plus. That's what qualifications should do. And our qualification is all about, are we giving your teams the skill to sell and offer advice and grow your business? We're not a qualification that says, here's a qualification, tick a box, and then you're ready for ROPA. I don't believe in that. What's the point in doing a qualification just to tick a box that may or may not happen? Pointless. Do a qualification that means that you as a business and team will grow in your own skills and then be recognized by the qualification that you have got those skills. But the training should be about the skills, not the result at the end, not the tick box of a qualification. The certificates are relevant. It's the training you do to get there that matters.
Yeah. It's the process, not the end result. Brilliant.
Yeah.
But any other final tips or words of advice if the market is going to be significantly different over the next couple of years? What's your top tip for coping with that?
Proactivity. I think it's getting out there, being consistent. I think it's getting your marketing looking absolutely slick. I think it's remembering that we're trying to inspire people to contact your agents and inspire them to move and inspire them to view a property and to grab their attention. And I think lazy, poor quality photos is an absolute disaster for a business, because you're not creating that aspirational tone that you want at whatever level. People might think, well, that's all very well for £1 million house. I don't believe that. Every level of the housing ladder is your individual aspiration, no matter whether you've got 200 grand to spend or 2 million. It doesn't matter. You've got to inspire that group of people. And then I think it's also the advising bit. If we're talking to investors will start buying again. Investors will be coming out of the woodwork, buying like crazy as the market changes. So are you positioning your marketing in terms of being an investment advisor? Are you able to have good conversations? And I think if you combine that with a proactive approach to looking for business and being an advisor in your community, then you need to be the port of call for anything related to property. And my final word, of one that's always wound me up over the years, is there's no such thing as a time-wasting market appraisal. People used to come back and say that was a waste of time, or I'm not going on that bar, they don't want to sell until 2024. It's wasting that waste of my time. Getting in front of people will never, ever be a waste of time, because if you're good at what you do, you can build relationships and spot other opportunities while you're there. That's my final word.
Fantastic. And if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They do. We've got the ableagent.co.uk website. You can book a demo with me, or one-to-one if you just want some training advice, or you can get me at charlotte@theableagent.co.uk. And it's ABLE. People like to spell it ABEL sometimes, but ABLE. Spelling, that's under the whole other podcast of property details and spelling, isn't it?
Great.
Fantastic.
Thanks a lot for your time, Charlotte. It's been really fascinating. It's great. It's opened my mind about the role of people in property marketing, and I've learned a lot. I think our listeners have too. So thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
It's goodbye from me.
And bye for me. And see you for a coffee in a few weeks' time.
Yes.
See you later.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Property Marketing Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.